In my past life, my cousin and I got married around the same time. I followed my family's arrangement and married Zhao Qianjin, the deputy factory director. My cousin, on the other hand, married a soldier. My cousin had triplets in one go. Her sons grew up to be outstanding men, each one a real success, and she ended up living a life even better than that of Zhao Qianjin, the deputy director. As for me, after 3 years of marriage to Zhao Qianjin, I couldn't even manage to have a son, in the end. After enduring endless humiliation, I was beaten to death by Zhao Qianjin, who was desperate for a son. When I opened my eyes, I found myself back on the day Zhao Qianjin came to propose marriage, except this time, he suddenly changed his mind and said he wanted to marry my cousin, the one who gave birth to triplets in my past life. So, he had been reborn too. What a joke. All bark and no bite, a total coward. You really think the fertility issues are my fault, Wanyu, girl? What are you standing there for? Hurry up and bring out the tea tray. Qianjin and the others are already at the door. My mother gave me a gentle nudge from behind. Looking at the jubilant crowd before me, I realized I had been reborn. I had been reborn on the very day Zhao Qianjin came to propose marriage. Remembering the horrific state of my body in my past life, not a single patch of unblemished skin, my face instantly turned deathly pale, as if the phantom pain still lingered. No. This match is off. I will never, ever marry that man again. However, before I could even find my parents to speak my mind, a familiar figure appeared in the main hall. Entering were the matchmaker and the 3 members of the Zhao family, surrounded by a crowd of factory workers who had come to gawk, along with some relatives from the Su family. The residential compound I lived in was, in fact, the staff housing for the state-owned food processing factory. Everyone said my family had hit the jackpot by securing a marriage alliance with the Zhao family. After all, my father was just a lowly section chief, our ancestors for generations were dirt-poor peasants, and he was the only one in the entire Su family who managed to pass the exams and move to the city. He then married my mother, who worked at the food processing plant. In today's terms, you could say he was a phoenix man. Zhao Qianjin was a different story. He took over his father's position and was already the deputy factory director. Even though he was 8 years older than me, he had a fair, refined appearance and wore a pair of gold-rimmed glasses, which made him look distinguished. Back when we first started dating, the gossipy aunties in the factory compound had plenty to say, all claiming I was a shrewd operator. But I asked myself, apart from family background, in what way am I, Su Wanyu, inferior to him? Come, everyone. Please take a seat. Today is a wonderful day for the young couple. Thank you all for coming. Beaming with joy, my father greeted the neighbors and colleagues around him, utterly pleased with his future son-in-law in every way. Qianjin, come and say hello to your uncles. Uncle Su, the reason for my visit today is to ask for your niece, Su Yingying's hand in marriage. Zhao Qianjin walked up to Su Yingying, gazing at her with deep affection, while she wore a look of utter disbelief. Chapter 2. As soon as these words were spoken, you could have heard a pin drop in the ensuing silence. Seeing the madness in Zhao Qianjin's eyes, I realized he had been reborn too. Su Yingying was the daughter of my uncle in the countryside. In her previous life, she married a soldier and gave birth to a set of triplet boys. The key was that her 3 sons were all high achievers. They grew up clever and sharp. Back then, it was all the rage to go south for business. And Su Yingying's sons caught that wave. Relying on their own wit, they made a fortune, living a life even better than that of Zhao Qianjin, the deputy factory director. This made old Mrs. Zhao and Zhao Qianjin green with envy. Every time they returned from a visit, old Mrs. Zhao would mock me at home as a barren old hen, and Zhao Qianjin would resort to outright domestic violence. What nonsense are you talking? Aren't you dating Wanyu? Old Mr. Zhao snapped angrily. Then turned to my parents with an apologetic smile, trying to pass the whole thing off as a slip of the tongue. Father, mother, I know exactly what I'm doing. I fell for Yingying the moment I saw her. I will marry no one but her. You want to marry her? Have you even asked if she wants to marry you? And what about my daughter? What position does this leave her in? My father's face flushed crimson with rage, his chest heaving up and down. I do. I want to marry brother Zhao. Su Yingying's face was flushed with shyness, but she stepped forward without hesitation to stand beside Zhao Qianjin. The surrounding whispers erupted into an uproar. Deputy Factory Director Zhao's way of doing things is really underhanded. I'm telling you, there must be something wrong with Su Wanyu. Why else would a perfectly good match suddenly switch to proposing to someone else? You're right, that little minx has a sly, seductive look about her. Her cousin, on the other hand, with that full, round face, she looks blessed with good fortune. If I were a man, I'd fancy her too. She looks like she'd be lovely to hold. That Sue girl has been utterly humiliated this time, after being publicly rejected. What respectable gentleman would dare marry her now? I will. A clear, low voice rang out. Heads turned in unison toward the man who had spoken. He was tall and lean, with sharply defined features and a prominent, straight nose. Seemingly oblivious to how shocking his words were, he stepped forward with an air of fearless composure. The speaker was Su Minglang. He was the older boy from my neighbor's family, and we played together as children. After he joined the army, we lost touch. In my past life, not long after my engagement to Zhao Qianjin, he also became engaged to my cousin, Su Yingying. As it happened, Su Yingying and I got married on the very same day. Minglang, what are you butting in for? This is a matter between their two families. The uncles from the factory couldn't stand by and watch any longer, stepping in to stop him. Ha, Su Minglang, you're the last hope for your family line. With Su Wanyu's frail health, don't go and end the Su family legacy for good. Zhao Qianjin wore a sneer, his face full of malicious mockery. I'm not joking. I'm willing to marry Su Wanyu. If she agrees, I'll go home right now to prepare the betrothal gifts. The man spoke with a resolute and deadly serious expression, making it impossible to dismiss his promise lightly. Looking at Su Minglang before me, I was a bit puzzled. Last year, his mother had lost her life due to a malfunction in the factory's newly purchased production machinery. He then left the army and returned to work at the factory. We hadn't had much interaction. I only knew that last year, he had ended up losing the competition for the deputy factory director position to Zhao Qianjin, and the two of them usually didn't get along. I never expected him to step forward at a time like this, and I couldn't fathom what his motive might be. Alright, that's enough. Let's not make this any messier. Seeing the sea of people and the gossipy looks on everyone's faces, my father stepped forward. Big brother, I'm asking you straight. Are you really going to let Yingying marry into the Zhao family? Second brother, I wasn't. My uncle instinctively tried to deny it, but my aunt gave him a sharp pinch. Second brother, what's the difference between your family and mine? Wanyu couldn't keep her man. If my Yingying marries him, the water stays within the family, doesn't it? And in the future, maybe Qianjin can even lend you a hand. My aunt grew more and more animated as she spoke, her words flying out with her spit. My cousin stood bashfully next to Zhao Qianjin, casting a triumphant glance my way. My father was furious, his eyes bloodshot as he pointed a trembling finger toward the door. Fine, since you've made your decision, from now on I have nothing to do with you. My Wanyu will have no connection whatsoever to the Zhao family either. We'll call off this marriage. Now get out of my house this instant. With that, he paid no further mind to the others and turned away. Walking dejectedly back into the house, seeing my father's unsteady steps, Su Minglang quickly stepped forward to support his arm. Chapter 3. I quickened my pace to catch up. Brother Su, thank you for helping me out of that situation just now, but I can't be so selfish as to drag you into this mess. Uncle Su, Wanyu, I didn't step forward just to spite Zhao Qianjin. I genuinely want to marry Wanyu. If I hadn't been delayed in returning from my military service, I wouldn't have missed my chance with her. Now that fate has given me another opportunity, I would never forgive myself if I didn't seize it. Su Minglang fixed me with a heavy, intense stare, then dropped another bombshell with utter seriousness, completely disregarding whether my father's heart could take the shock. Excellent, excellent, my boy. Uncle Su knew he was right about you. With your parents gone, I'll take the liberty of setting the wedding for 7 days from now. How does that sound? My father, shedding his previous despondency, gave Su Minglang's shoulder a firm, hearty slap. Wanyu, are you willing? So now, Su Minglang finally thought to ask for my opinion. I'll marry him, given a second chance. I know I could live a perfectly good life without getting married, but I don't want my parents to lose face in the community they've lived in for most of their lives, to be gossiped about and pointed at wherever they go. Since he wants to marry me, whatever his reasons, I'll take this gamble. If the man turns out to be unreliable, the worst case scenario is just a divorce. Could it possibly be worse than losing my life like I did in my last life? 7 days later, Su Minglang and I held our wedding as scheduled. Even though he had no family to help with the arrangements, he didn't skimp on any of the formalities. On the wedding day itself, The betrothal gifts included not only a Phoenix brand bicycle but also a Shanghai brand wristwatch, something you couldn't necessarily buy even if you had the money. The aunties at the wedding wore expressions of both envy and regret, each lamenting why they hadn't introduced their own daughters to Su Mingling sooner. "What's the big deal? It's just a watch," came a snide voice. My Qianjin promised to buy me a gold necklace and gold bracelets. The speaker was Su Yingying, who had married into the factory district just 3 days prior. Though uninvited, she had shown up of her own accord, though she could only watch from outside the door. "Pa, he didn't even manage the full 72 betrothal gifts for you, and you think he'll buy you gold? Go home and dream on." Auntie Lu, who was close with my mother, curled her lip and sneered. "That's because Qianjin wanted to marry me in a hurry and didn't have time to prepare. Just you wait and see." Humph, with that, she sashayed away. "Right, he couldn't wait to marry you, just so you could pop out twins for him." Remembering the mockery and beatings I endured in my past life for failing to conceive, a surge of hatred welled up inside me, my nails digging tightly into my palms. "Wan Yu, mind the threshold," Su Mingling said softly, taking my hand carefully as he led me towards his home. Chapter 4. Soon, the commotion we had caused died down, though whispers still lingered. I simply ignored them as long as they weren't said to my face. Marrying into the Su family was a world of difference compared to my past life. The Su household consisted only of Mingling himself. We took our meals at the factory canteen and shared the housework, making life even simpler than when I was a daughter at home. Not to mention comparing it to my past life with the Zhao family. Mother Zhao was a difficult woman to get along with. She complained that the canteen food was too bland. So she made me get up early every morning to fight for meat, and then cook 3 meals a day on schedule. Sometimes, when Zhao Qianjin beat me so badly I couldn't get up, she would just stand outside cursing and grumbling. Once she'd tired herself out from yelling, she'd take the food coupons and money herself to go eat her fill at the state-run restaurant, coming back with her mouth all greasy. It all feels like a lifetime ago now, darling. I managed to snag a roast duck from the state-run restaurant today. It's Chef Van's specialty. Let's go to your parents' place tonight. I'll have a proper drink with your dad. Su Mingling's cheerful voice pulled me from my thoughts. The days passed at a gentle, unhurried pace, warm and fulfilling. In the blink of an eye, New Year's Eve arrived. This year, the factory decided to hold a reunion dinner in the canteen, a lively affair to reward the workers for their hard work throughout the year. As luck would have it, or perhaps it was fate, or maybe someone just wanted to see a spectacle, we ended up seated at the same table as the Zhao family, and suddenly, the lavish feast spread before us lost all its appeal. What rotten luck. Come on, Yingying, have some meat, eat up, you'll need your strength to give our Zhao family a big, healthy baby boy. Old Mrs. Zhao beamed with pride as she piled more meat into Su Yingying's bowl. "Oh, Sister Zhao, is your daughter-in-law expecting?" The busybody perked up at the news. "Yes indeed, she's missed her period for half a month now, and the poor girl gets queasy at the slightest whiff of anything fishy. She's definitely pregnant." Mrs. Zhao shared the news animatedly with everyone at the table, while Zhao Qianjin sat beside her, his face a picture of pride. "Aunt Zhao is truly blessed, with a new daughter-in-law and a grandson already." But Wan Yu and Yingying are sisters, and they got married around the same time. How come there's still no news from her? Some people just aren't cut out for good fortune, I suppose. With that scrawny frame of hers, does she really think she can get pregnant? Mark my words, the Su family line is going to end with her. Bang! Before I could even get a word out, Su Mingling slammed his bowl down heavily on the table. "My Wan Yu is still young. Our private matters are no concern of yours, Auntie." Seeing the murderous look on Su Mingling's face, Aunt Zhao didn't dare say another word. But there are still some people who can't read the room and insist on showing off. "Little sister, even though brother Su isn't in a hurry, a good wife should still be considerate, right? Look at this gold bracelet Qianjin bought me today, a full 20 grams. My wrist's actually getting a bit sore from wearing it. He even said if I were to have triplets, he'd take me to Shanghai for a trip." Su Yingying said this while extending her hand for everyone to see. Su Mingling wanted to step in and shield me, but I stopped him. "How many children you want to have is your business. You don't need to flaunt it in front of me, and you certainly don't need to worry about me pining for Zhao Qianjin. The man by my side is 100, 1,000 times better than him. I'd have to be blind and out of my mind to pass up a treasure for a piece of scrap metal." With that, she ignored their livid expressions and went back to serving herself some food. A New Year's Eve feast this lavish only comes once a year. If they're going to ruin my appetite, they shouldn't be surprised if I don't hold back. You, Su Yingying stood up, ready to lunge and scratch me, but her move was cut short by a sudden, sharp cry. Chapter 5, Yingying, why is your cotton-padded trousers covered in blood? At these words, everyone turned to look behind Su Yingying. A patch of red blood was slowly spreading on the back of her new light gray cotton trousers. Auntie Lu muttered, could it be a miscarriage? Hearing this, Su Yingying's face turned deathly pale. She stood frozen in place, not daring to move a muscle, and clutched Zhao Qianjin's arm tightly. Brother Qianjin, save our baby. Despite the bitter winter cold, Zhao Qianjin broke out in a sweat on his forehead and was about to scoop up Su Yingying and rush to the clinic. This doesn't look much like a miscarriage to me. Could it be her monthly visitor? Auntie Li blurted out unexpectedly. The other aunties perked up at this remark, their eyes scanning Su Yingying up and down. That's certainly possible. Look, she hasn't cried out in pain this whole time. A miscarriage is no laughing matter, you know. The women all nodded in agreement. Make way, everyone, make way. Dr. Wang is here. It turned out that in that short time, someone quick-witted had already run to fetch the old doctor from the clinic. He was a well-known traditional Chinese medicine practitioner in the area, the go-to person for any ailment, renowned for his superb skill and kind-hearted nature. Seeing the grave expression on Dr. Wang's face as he took the pulse, Mother Zhao grew frantic and started yelling at me. Listen here, Su Wanyu. If anything happens to my precious grandson today, I swear I'll make you pay for it. Zhao Qianjin also glared at me fiercely, as if he wanted to tear me to pieces. Su Mingling took a step forward, silently positioning himself in front of me, meeting Zhao Qianjin's gaze without a trace of fear. What are you all talking about? What grandson? Dr. Wang looked up, his face a picture of confusion. At these words, the crowd of onlookers was collectively stunned into silence. The child in my daughter-in-law's belly. My grandson, old Mrs. Zhao said urgently. Her eyes fixed on Dr. Wang. Where on earth did you get the idea she was pregnant? Xiao Su has been taking cooling medicine, which is what caused her period to be late. That's also why the flow is so heavy this time. Who prescribed this nonsense? Quack doctors are a menace. Dr. Wang sighed, shaking his head. Not pregnant, impossible. That medicine was a special tonic I had my family prescribe for her. My sister-in-law swore it would guarantee a son. Dr. Wang. If you don't know what you're talking about, keep your mouth shut. Mother Zhao shrieked at Dr. Wang, her face contorted with rage, while Zhao Qianjin glared at him with bloodshot eyes. Mom, let's not listen to this quack. Come on, I'm taking Yingying to the county hospital right now. With that, he scooped Su Yingying up and headed for the door. But he'd overestimated his own strength and underestimated her weight. He stumbled, and the two of them tumbled to the floor in a heap. Some quick-witted folks promptly wheeled over a flatbed cart. Two of them lifted Su Yingying onto it and began pushing her toward the county hospital. The New Year's Eve feast was winding down anyway, so those looking for a bit of excitement started trailing along behind the procession. They all made their way to the hospital together. As for our family, we wanted nothing to do with the Zhaos. We just held hands and walked home. Chapter 6. Back home. Su Mingling prepared hot water for me to soak my feet, then mysteriously pulled out a red envelope. Darling, this is your New Year's money. Don't be silly, I'm a grown woman, I don't need New Year's money, you keep it. I'm not sure if the water was a bit too hot today, but the steam made my face flush with warmth. He walked over and held me tight. No matter how old you get, you'll always be my wife. The same little girl who used to follow me around calling me Mingling Gidge. What's wrong with the little girl taking a red envelope? His gaze grew increasingly intense. It's just that a certain little heartless one promised to marry me when we were kids. If I hadn't come back in time, you'd be someone else's wife now. As he spoke, he nuzzled his head against my neck, like a big puppy. I was supposed to give it to him when I was little. I don't remember that at all. When did I ever say I'd marry you? It was when you were 4, playing house. You insisted you were going to marry me. When Little Lee from next door said she wanted to marry you, you wouldn't let her. You cried so hard your nose turned bright red. You looked so pitiful. Of course I had to humor you and say yes. And then, some people just say things and forget all about them. Looking at the person trying to act cute in front of me, I reached out and ruffled their hair. I was wrong. I shouldn't have forgotten about you. Mingling, I still want to marry you. Will you have me? At my teasing tone, Su Mingling's ears gradually turned bright red. Ha 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 ha. The consequence of my over-the-top laughter was that I soon couldn't laugh anymore. Take it easy, you jerk. The next day was the first day of the Lunar New Year, and the sounds of people going door to door to offer New Year's greetings gradually drifted in from outside. I pinched Su Minglang's waist hard. It was all his fault for making me oversleep on New Year's Day. Luckily, it was just the two of us at home, so no one was around to complain. After getting ready, we headed next door to my parents' house to pay our New Year's respects. Technically, the custom is to visit on the second day, but since we live so close, my parents aren't strict about such formalities. They just said it's about the family being together and having a lively time. Just as we walked in, a group of aunties from the factory had also arranged to come by for New Year's greetings and were already chatting away animatedly. Happy New Year, Happy New Year. That was the first thing everyone said when they met. Wanyu, my dear, you missed quite the show by not coming to the hospital with us yesterday. As it turned out, as soon as they arrived at the hospital yesterday, Zhao Qianjin grabbed the doctor on duty and begged her to save his son. The doctor looked for a long time at Su Yingying lying on the handcart and asked, "Didn't you bring your son?" The auntie recounted this while slapping her thigh with laughter, never pausing in her shelling of sunflower seeds. "It's in my wife's belly, you need to check right now." The situation was urgent, and Zhao Qianjin couldn't be bothered to pick a fight with the doctor, but after going in, they took her pulse and even used that fancy new belly scanning machine. Yet they couldn't find a baby in Su Yingying's womb. Upon hearing the results, Zhao Qianjin nearly smashed the hospital's brand new equipment, refusing to believe his three sons-to-be had just vanished. Fortunately, the onlookers who had tagged along managed to hold him back. "Are you kidding? The money Zhao Qianjin would have to pay for breaking the hospital equipment is the least of it. The real issue is damaging state property," Aunt Lee said with a look of disdain. "He's a deputy factory manager. For goodness sake, not only does he lose his cool at the slightest provocation, but he's also quick to resort to violence. He's nothing like the old factory manager. His mother spoiled him rotten. He had a face like thunder when we went to give New Year's greetings, and there was hardly anything on the table. So stingy." As I listened to the aunties' discussion, my mind began to wander. In my past life, Zhao Qianjin first laid hands on me about a year and a half into our marriage. I hadn't gotten pregnant, and his mother kept whispering in his ear, seeing all the kids our age already starting kindergarten. He came home and started giving me dirty looks, which gradually escalated into physical violence. Slowly, word spread throughout the factory housing complex that I couldn't conceive. My parents were so worried their hair turned mostly gray, terrified that I was having a hard time in the Zhao household. Seeing the worry and the new wrinkles etched on my parents' faces, I swallowed all my grievances and told them I was doing just fine. "What's wrong?" Su Mingling asked, gently touching the back of my hand, his expression tinged with concern. "It's nothing. I was just thinking, how lucky I am to have married you." Chapter 7. Shortly after the New Year holiday, as work resumed, a piece of news sent shockwaves through the small factory compound. Zhao Qianjin was resigning to go into business for himself. Has that Zhao boy lost his mind because he didn't have a son, giving up a perfectly good deputy director position to go be a self-employed peddler? Auntie Lee's tongue was as sharp as ever. "You think maybe old Zhao has heard something, that our factory is on the rocks?" Some people were thinking a bit deeper. "Don't you dare say that. My whole family depends on our jobs at the factory. If this place goes under, I might as well not bother going home." The food processing plant had weathered 30 years of storms. In this small county town, the lives of many were deeply intertwined with its fate. Indeed, Zhao Qianjin, having lived through this once before, knew all too well that the factory was on the brink of collapse. Soon, everyone here would be laid off. He seized the chance to resign now while he could still get a severance package. An opportunity like that wouldn't come around again. Naturally, when someone steps down, someone else must step up. Su Minglang, who had previously lost the competition against Zhao Qianjin, was personally appointed by the factory director as the new deputy director. For a time, a steady stream of well-wishers came to congratulate him, though there was no shortage of people making snide remarks as well. We weathered the storm, dealing with wave after wave of people, and then Su Minglang officially started his new role. What followed was 4 solid months of overtime. "I told you. If I'm running late, just go to bed, don't wait up for me." I went into the kitchen and brought him out a bowl of noodles. "Eat it while it's hot." "How could I possibly sleep soundly if you weren't home?" "Thanks, honey. It's been really busy lately." Zhao Qianjin left a lot of messes to clean up, and on top of that, the factory's products just aren't selling. People have more disposable income now and they're all chasing after the latest trends. Sales for our old-school canned goods and pastries are just getting lower and lower. Su Minglang gripped my hand, his brow furrowed tightly. Seeing his worried expression, a thought suddenly struck me. Minglang, I've heard that in the big cities nowadays, there's a type of food called instant noodles. You just pour hot water over them and they're ready to eat. Think about it, if our factory could produce these. With so many people on the move these days and plenty who have a bit of spare cash. Wouldn't a bowl of hot, soupy noodles be a much better choice than cold steamed buns or hard-boiled eggs? Is your information reliable? Su Minglang's eyes grew brighter and brighter as I spoke. I just heard it from the aunties while we were chatting, so I can't vouch for how reliable it is. No, the information is very reliable. People in the future absolutely love this stuff. The aroma is incredibly potent. It's just that right now, only Shanghai has the production line for it. It's a trendy new thing, and sales haven't really taken off yet. With a loud smack, Su Minglang planted a kiss on my cheek. Darling, if we can really produce this thing, you'll be the savior of our factory. Ugh, you got oil all over my face. I spat the words at him and ignored the big oaf, who was still standing there with a silly grin. Chapter 8, A Man of Action. Su Minglang had his old army buddies look into it the very next day to confirm the story. He then promptly reported the situation to the factory director and boarded a train bound for Shanghai. While he was away, I kept to my usual routine of work. In my free time, I'd go window shopping. With the new policies, our county town had blossomed with all sorts of new stores, boutiques, restaurants, you name it. I never had this chance in my last life. So I was determined to treat myself well in this one. Little did I expect to run into Su Yingying and old Mrs. Zhao even on a simple outing like this. At that moment, I was trying on a white dress with a small floral print, and I even had a pair of the store's little leather shoes on my feet. I listened as the sales assistant whispered in my ear, praising my fair skin and my perfectly proportioned figure, saying the dress looked as if it were tailor-made just for me. Then I saw Su Yingying trailing behind Mrs. Zhao, laden with shopping bags. She was bundled up in long sleeves and trousers, her complexion sallow and wan. She had lost a great deal of weight, with dark, heavy circles under her eyes. She was a world apart from the girl who had declared at my engagement banquet that she would be the one to marry him. With Minglang away, you're out here all dolled up, flaunting yourself without a care for what people might say. Thank goodness my Qianjin didn't marry you. Mother Zhao curled her lip, looking at me with utter disdain. Well, I should be thanking Zhao Qianjin for the favor of not marrying me. Otherwise, I might never have gotten to wear this lovely dress and these shoes. What a joke. With the Zhao family standing, such trifles aren't even worth mentioning. Salesperson, wrap up this entire outfit my daughter-in-law is wearing. The sales assistant looked at her with a troubled expression. I'm sorry, ma'am, but this style is out of stock. The piece the young lady is wearing is the last one. I'll add 20. Wrap it up for me, Mrs. Zhao haughtily barked at the sales assistant, who looked at me with an expression of utter helplessness. I'll add 40. I'm taking this one with me right now. Yes, of course. The assistant hurriedly nodded, avoiding Mrs. Zhao's livid glare. I'm adding 100. I'm absolutely determined to have this dress. Mrs. Zhao glared at me venomously, looking as if she wanted to rip the dress right off the rack. 100. I raised an eyebrow. In a time when the average monthly salary was only 80, she was offering an extra 100 for a dress that originally cost 35. It's yours. I'll take it off right now. Miss, make sure you collect the payment quickly, or you'll be out of luck if someone gets buyer's remorse. With that, I sauntered back to the fitting room to change. Mrs. Zhao's face turned a fascinating palette of reds and greens. By the time I got dressed and came out, they were long gone. As she was leaving, the sales assistant practically forced a pale yellow dress into my hands, saying it was an apology. In the days that followed, I stopped going out. I just went to and from work on time, and the days flew by in the blink of an eye. Su Minglang was back. The instant noodle production line had returned with him. The food factory hadn't been updated in years. This time, they were digging into their last reserves of capital for one final, desperate push. It's a success. The food processing plant is saved, and everyone gets to keep their secure, state-assigned jobs. Otherwise, it would have been mass layoffs. The recent wave of layoffs at the textile mill had everyone on edge. So now, with this glimmer of hope, people are cheering it on and are full of drive. They're just waiting for the production line to be installed so they can start operations. While the sales team has already hit the road with samples brought back from Shanghai to drum up business, The goal is to have products move straight from the production line onto store shelves. In the blink of an eye, autumn winds arrived, and the sweet scent of osmanthus filled the small town. Good taste instant noodles became an overnight sensation. Demand was so high that you couldn't get a pack without a pre-order. And the factory's phone lines were jammed with calls from eager distributors. After the factory manager announced a bonus equal to a full month's salary, everyone's work ethic soared to new heights, treating the factory floor as if it were their own home. If the technical department hadn't warned that the production line couldn't handle it, the frontline workers would have gladly worked around the clock to ramp up output. The people of that time truly embodied the spirit of united. We Can Move Mountains, Chapter 9. After several more months of feverish work, the year's end was upon them once again. Given the awkwardness of last year's New Year's Eve dinner, the factory decided to hand out a bigger bonus this year and let everyone go home to their own families. They weren't about to risk a repeat of that fiasco. As fate would have it, chaos erupted at the Zhao household on New Year's Eve. Old Mrs. Zhao wailed, calling for the young men from neighboring families to come and help. It turned out that after quitting the food factory, Zhao Qianjin, armed with the experience from his past life, had made a killing in the market. The Zhao family became the county's first household with savings of over 10,000 yuan. Money was no longer an issue, but the matter of children remained an unsolvable knot for Zhao Qianjin, a burden carried through both his lifetimes. In my past life, I couldn't bear children. In this life, I had hoped Su Yingying, who I thought could give birth to triplets, would bring news, but there has been none. This made him start to doubt himself a little, but he didn't dare dwell on it. After all, what man would ever admit to being inadequate? So, he and Zhao's mother went to great lengths to find all sorts of folk remedies for Su Yingying, forcing her to drink various herbal concoctions every day. The slightest hint of reluctance would earn her a vicious beating from Zhao Qianjin. On his good days, he'd toss you a few banknotes. On his bad days, he'd come home and use his belt. That's why, the last time I saw Su Yingying, she was covered from head to toe. His body was covered in a dense patchwork of bruises, not a single patch of unblemished skin to be found. Seeing that things still hadn't taken a turn for the better, Zhao Qianjin grew anxious. He thought of Wang Mei, the wife of a buddy who lived in the west part of town. He'd met her through business after being laid off and had been to their place for dinner before. Wang Mei's husband was often on the road driving a truck, so she was usually home alone looking after their 3 sons. After learning about this, Zhao Qianjin set his sights on Wang Mei. After all, she had proven she could bear 3 sons. One had money, the other was lonely. Before long, the two of them got together, on Chinese New Year's Eve. Zhao Qianjin didn't even go home, choosing to stay at Wang Mei's place instead. To everyone's surprise, Wang Mei's husband rushed back home. Seeing his so-called brother and his wife together, the man completely lost his mind. He grabbed a stick and started beating them. In the dead of winter, they were naked in bed, with a crowd gathering. They were too terrified to make a run for it and had no choice but to endure the blows right there. Fortunately, some bystanders, fearing it might turn fatal, intervened and held him back. Even so, Zhao Qianjin ended up with a broken leg and arm. Someone in the crowd who recognized him as Deputy Factory Director Zhao rushed to the factory compound to inform his parents. That's what led to the scene on this year's New Year's Eve, having to call people over on the holiday to help carry back her son, whose limbs were broken because of his affair. Looks like tomorrow's New Year's visits are going to be lively again. Oh, Wanyu dear, Happy New Year, Happy New Year, come on in, I saved you a good spot. Auntie Li, let's have a good chat. Auntie Li beamed with uncontrollable eagerness to share as she watched Su Minglang and me walk in. Have you heard that Zhao Qianjin ended up with broken arms and legs? Serves him right, trying to seduce another man's wife. Absolutely. I heard Wang Mei's husband is planning to sue him too. Auntie Lu chimed in eagerly. If it weren't for Wang Mei begging on her knees, crying and pleading that the child couldn't be without a mother, those two would have been locked up last night for hooliganism, and that's no joke these days. Remember that young man from the east side who snuck into the young widow's bed? He got executed for it, didn't he? Aunt Wang eagerly shared the gossip she'd managed to dig up. The sunflower seeds I was munching on seemed to get tastier with every crack. Chapter 10. My old man told me that old Zhao practically cleaned out the family savings yesterday. He even had to hand over everything Zhao Qianjin earned last year to the Wang family. All that, just to save his precious only son. That boy must be worth his weight in gold. Hey, Wanyu, have you been to see your cousin yet? Her husband's having an affair. Poor thing must be having a rough time. As she spoke, Auntie Lee suddenly turned the conversation toward me. Finally finishing off a handful of sunflower seeds, I dusted my hands and looked up at them with an innocent expression. Aunties, you all know the circumstances of their marriage. If I went to see her now, people would say I'm kicking her while she's down. Who would dare gossip like that? We've got your back. It's been long enough. What's wrong with a sister checking in on her sister? Come on, we'll take you there. Before I could react, Auntie Lee grabbed me by the arm and pulled me toward the door. Su Mingling tried to stop us, but I quickly shot him a warning look. Don't ruin the show for me. Behave. He had no choice but to follow behind us, anxiously on edge. Director Zhao, we've come to wish you a Happy New Year. Happy New Year. Please, have a seat, Mr. Zhao greeted them with a stiff expression, attempting to force a welcoming smile, but it didn't quite reach his eyes. Where are Sister Zhao and Ying, Mrs. Li ventured to ask. I told you I'm not drinking this godforsaken concoction. Zhao Qianjin is already seeing another woman out there. Why should I have to choke down these ridiculous folk remedies every day, just to bear a son for your precious Zhao family? It's your own fault for being useless. If you'd popped out a healthy baby boy the moment you stepped through our door, would I be wasting my hard-earned money on this stuff for you? Their voices grew louder and louder. We sat outside, keeping our expressions neutral while straining our ears, afraid to miss a single word. Soon after, Su Ying stormed out. Seeing the crowd outside, she looked slightly embarrassed. Compared to the last time I saw her, Su Ying was even thinner, her cheekbones standing out sharply. The girl with the round face and full figure gradually faded into the distance. You little wretch, you don't have a choice in this. Stand still, or I'll force it down your throat myself, Mrs. Zhao cursed as she stormed out with the bowl of herbal medicine, only to freeze on the spot at the sight of a group of working-class women she'd always looked down on gathered outside. To everyone's surprise, Mr. Zhao then strode over, snatched the bowl, and smashed it on the ground. The dark liquid splattered everywhere. As the strong, peculiar odor hit me, a wave of nausea suddenly washed over me. Ugh. Su Mingling quickly stood beside me and patted my back. What's wrong? Did you eat something too greasy last night, Wan Yu, dear? How long has it been since your last period? My period. It's always been so irregular. I never really keep track. I can't believe I forgot all about it. It's been about 3 months, I think. I stammered under the scrutinizing gazes of the aunties. Looks to me like you're pregnant. I think so too. The experts joked and laughed, completely ignoring the Zhao family, whose faces had turned ashen. Pregnant? How could she be? Does Su Wanyu even look like someone who can get pregnant? Don't get your hopes up for nothing, said Mrs. Zhao, her face contorted. Why not just go to the hospital and get a scan? You'd know for sure then. Didn't your family have a false pregnancy scare last year that showed up on the scan? Said Auntie Lee, pursing her lips. And so, under the expectant gazes of everyone, Su Mingling and I went to the hospital for the checkup on the first day of the Lunar New Year. Honey, pinch me. Walking home from the hospital, Su Mingling said, feeling a bit lightheaded. Ouch, it's real, it's really real. Honey, you're amazing. Su Mingling looked at me, grinning like a kid. So, what's the news? Are you expecting? The aunties swarmed around us the moment we reached the lane near home, their faces alight with curiosity. I glanced at Auntie Zhao, who was quietly trailing behind the other women. My face flushed as I nodded. The doctor confirmed I'm pregnant. What wonderful news. Before the aunties could finish their congratulations, Su Mingling added, the doctor said Wanyu is carrying sextuplets this time, so she needs plenty of rest and care. We're heading home now to tell our parents the good news. Aunties, once the babies arrive, I'll bring you all red eggs. Chapter 11. Watching the aunties' jaws drop in astonishment, Su Mingling happily helped me walk home. Meanwhile, old Mrs. Zhao kept muttering to herself, impossible, this can't be real. In the days that followed, I became the family's top priority protected subject. I wasn't allowed to lift a finger, truly living a life where clothes were handed to me and meals were served to my mouth. While taking care of me, Su Mingling didn't neglect his career. When the old factory director retired, he was the natural and undisputed choice to be appointed as the new director, having been the one to steer the factory back to life, just as I was relaxing during my pregnancy. Another bombshell dropped in the Zhao family. Zhao Qianjin and Su Ying got divorced. The reason was that Su Ying had an affair and was pregnant. How can you be so sure the child isn't Zhao Qianjin's? According to what onlookers reported, Su Ying revealed this while screaming obscenities outside the Zhao family's door. Zhao Qianjin, you useless bastard, you were never any good to begin with, and after getting beaten up by Wan Mei's husband, you're completely finished. If I had to rely on you, I'd have to wait until the next life to get pregnant. If it weren't for Dechang, I'd never have known what it truly feels like to be a woman. The aunties wanted to share what came next, but Su Mingling firmly showed them the door, regardless. The news that Zhao Qianjin was a useless man had spread like wildfire throughout the county. Everyone now knew that the former deputy factory director was impotent. His manhood was nothing but a useless appendage. His mother even started doing her grocery shopping at odd hours to avoid the crowds and the inevitable gossip behind her back. As for Zhao Qianjin himself, he was never seen around the residential compound again. The day the sextuplets came home, a long-absent buzz of excitement finally returned to the residential compound. Everyone was eager to catch a glimpse of the rare, identical 6 babies. The key point is, these 6 children are remarkably sensible, and thanks to Su Mingling's teaching, every single one of them is clever and sharp. Thinking back now, in my past life, Su Yingying's triplets weren't born smart. They grew into who they were because of Su Mingling's education. Every time my parents see these sextuplets, they're so delighted they can't stop grinning, sitting in the main hall chatting non-stop with any visitors. They talk about nothing but their grandsons. He beamed with even greater pride under the crowd's admiring gazes. To everyone's surprise, Zhao Qianjin showed up right at that moment. He barged in and made a beeline for the sextuplets, shouting, "My children, give me my children." The aunties holding the babies quickly backed away, while the uncles all moved to block his path. But Zhao Qianjin's strength was astonishingly great. He struggled desperately forward, trying to reach the child, his expression utterly deranged. Just as he was about to make contact, Su Mingling, who had heard the commotion and come out of his room, directly kicked him to the ground. The others rushed forward to pin him down. Zhao Qianjin continued to writhe on the floor, glaring at Su Mingling with pure hatred. "It's all your fault. If you hadn't come between Wan Yu and me, the child would have been mine. I should be their father." "Ah, my child." Everyone looked at Zhao Qianjin with utter contempt, simply thinking he had been driven mad by Su Yingying's infidelity. Only I knew the truth. He had remembered his past life and was now consumed by regret. But none of that concerned me anymore. My husband now treats me with the utmost respect. My child is adorable. And my parents are in increasingly good health. I ask for nothing more. I can only offer more devout thanks to the heavens for granting me a second chance, and I cherish everything I have now all the more. On the very day I finished my postpartum confinement, I heard the news that Zhao Qianjin had taken his own life. After his funeral, his parents withdrew from society even more, living in seclusion and fading from public view. Meanwhile, Su Yingying headed south with her new husband to seek better opportunities. The 1980s were a golden age of opportunity. Who knew what the future would hold? All we can do is live well in the present, cherish each day, and stay true to our passions. Story 2. After Chen Sanjing made his fortune overseas and started a company, he sent one of his men to fetch me and the children. My mother-in-law demanded, "Just how busy is Sanjing that he can't come in person to get his wife and children?" The man hemmed and hawed, but I managed to piece together the truth from his evasions. During his years at sea, Chen Sanjing had fallen for the ship's nurse. They were now deeply involved, which is why he naturally had no time to come for us. My mother-in-law grabbed a broom and started shooing the visitor out the door. Get out, you heartless scoundrel." Sway, we're not going. It's not about pride, it's about dignity. I'd rather sell everything we own than let you go. I'll help you raise these 2 children myself, even if I have to beg or borrow. Yet, meeting my mother-in-law's concerned gaze, I shook my head. "Mother, it's been so many years since I've seen Mitsui. I miss him terribly in my heart." My mother-in-law's eyes flickered for a moment. Sway, a 3-legged toad is hard to find, but men are a dime a dozen. I promise you, I'll find you a better man than him someday. I pressed my lips together and shook my head again. "Mother, I know you care for me and the children, but Mitsui is my husband, my whole world. He's finally returned safely from the sea against all odds. Of course I must go to him and take good care of him." My mother-in-law sighed. "But that wretched boy is all wrapped up with that nurse, isn't he? He won't be happy to see you if you go." My mother-in-law kept talking, trying desperately to convince me, since Chen Sanjing didn't love me anymore, I should have some self-respect and stop going to look for him. In my past life, I did listen to her. I resolutely sent away the people he sent to fetch us. And when Chen Sanjing sent someone to ask again, I snapped back with a sharp retort, if Chen Sanjing truly wanted us, me and the kids, he would have come himself after his men went back empty-handed. It's clear he doesn't care about us at all. If he doesn't want us, we're not going to force ourselves on him and make a nuisance of ourselves. But what happened after that? I stayed in our hometown, looking after my in-laws and scraping a living from the soil to raise our 2 children. Meanwhile, Chen Sanjing moved to the big city, married a young and pretty nurse, and they even had a lovely pair of twins, a boy and a girl. Those 2 children received the best education and lived a life of plenty, while my own kids had to follow me, scratching out a living from the dirt. The year I turned 50, Chen Sanjing drove back to our hometown in a car, bringing his wife and children to renovate the ancestral hall and pay their respects. The old woman knelt unsteadily on the ground, trembling as she prayed, "Ancestors, bless us. Our Chen family has finally produced a university student. Thank heavens I helped Sanjing keep Sui Sui steady back then, otherwise, how could our family's ancestral graves ever have seen such good fortune?" My own son, worn down by years of toiling in the fields, grew into a simple, taciturn farmer and married a village girl. My sweet little granddaughter, overjoyed at receiving a piece of candy from Chen Sanjing, came running to share it with me. "Grandma, look, it's candy. The wrapper is so pretty that Grandpa even drives a car. I've never seen such a beautiful car before, yet all of this should have rightfully belonged to me and my child. Why on earth should I give up a life of splendor that was already within my grasp, all for the sake of pride, remembering all the hardships and suffering from my past life?" I was so furious I started slamming things down. My mother-in-law frowned. "Sui Sui, why won't you listen to reason? Sanjing is a big boss now. If his wife is illiterate, it reflects poorly on him. Since he has a woman he likes, let's have some self-respect and not pester him. In the future, when people mention you, they'll still speak highly of you." I turned my head and looked earnestly at my mother-in-law's seemingly concerned face. "Mother, did Sanjing promise you that if you helped him keep me in line, he'd arrange jobs for my elder brothers at his company?" My mother-in-law looked uncomfortable. "Oh, child, what are you talking about? That's not true at all." I snorted coldly. "It better not be. Just think about it. I'm from this village. If I want to make it in the big city, I'll need our own people there with me. But if it's that little nurse Sanjing is so hung up on, a city girl, an only child, well-educated, from a good family, do you really think she'd want anything to do with country folk like you?" My mother-in-law froze. I pressed on. "And another thing, if Sanjing makes it big, don't you want to go to the city and live the good life yourself? All these years, my daughter and I have never had a single cross word. If it were anyone else, do you think they'd put up with an old country woman like you?" My mother-in-law's lips trembled, and she finally let out a sigh. All right. You make it sound as if I don't want you and Sanjing to be happy together." When I arrived, Chen Sanjing was holding a package of pastries and talking to a pretty young woman. "Shuqin, these are your favorite peach shortcakes. Have a taste." The woman I once saw from afar, elegant and dignified, was now a fresh-faced young girl. "Brother Chen, you should keep the treats for yourself. Mom mentioned last time that you've been looking a bit thin lately." Chen Sanjing's gaze lingered on Shuqin's lovely face. "Shuqin, you're so good to me. I've settled things at home. Once everything's sorted over there, we'll get married. You can take good care of me then." Shuqin's face flushed like a rosy cloud, but her reply was still clear and bright. "Brother Chen, I'll be waiting for your good news." I gave my son and daughter's hands a little squeeze. They immediately scampered over, threw their arms around Chen Sanjing's legs, and cried out, "Papa, Papa. I missed you so much. Papa, you're back from the sea. Why didn't you come home to see us?" Chen Sanjing was utterly bewildered as the 2 children clung to him. "Shuqin, let me explain," he pleaded. "That was an arranged marriage my parents set up for me back in the day. I never had any feelings for her. It was only when I met you that I truly understood what it meant to have my heart skip a beat. No feelings at all." How dared Chen Sanjing even say that, back then? It was Chen Sanjing who fell for me at first sight in the fields and then sent a matchmaker to my family to propose. After we married, he was always beaming with joy. "Sui Sui, I'm truly blessed to have a virtuous wife like you. Sui Sui, let's have a son and a daughter. The son will take after me, and the daughter will take after you." Before he set sail, it was Chen Sanjing who held my hand, tears in his eyes, saying, "Sui Sui, I'm entrusting our parents and children to you. Wait for me to come back." Has it only been a few years? How did we end up as 2 strangers in a marriage of convenience, living together without a shred of affection? A man's promises are as empty as a ghost's whispers, but having lived a second life, what I care about is certainly not some man's fleeting, insubstantial affection. Shu Qin's eyes instantly welled up with tears. Didn't you say? Didn't you promise they wouldn't come to bother us with that? The young girl bolted out of the room as if a wolf were chasing her. Chen Sanjing's gaze was glued to the little girl until she had run completely out of sight. Only then did he frown at me and ask, "What are you doing here?" His son, Zhuang, was sharp-eyed. "Dad, what's this? Did you know we were coming and buy this for us?" His daughter, Xiaoman, was quick with sweet words. "Brother, what kind of question is that? Who else would Dad buy it for if not for us?" Chen Sanjing forced a strained smile in agreement. "Of course it's for you. Now, tell your father, have you been good and listened well all these years at home?" The father and his two sons walked ahead, while I trotted behind them, carrying my little floral bundle. The neighbors in Chen Sanjing's courtyard laughed. Has Boss Chen brought his wife and children to town? As we walked further away, I could faintly hear some women gossiping. Wait. Isn't Boss Chen supposed to marry Shu Qin from the nursing station? Exactly, I heard that too. So why has he brought his wife from back home? So, he sent someone to fetch us while being dead certain we wouldn't show up, and has already announced his marriage to the nurse to the whole world. If he actually manages to pull off this wedding, then my coming back to life was all for nothing. After settling the two children to sleep, Chen Sanjing fixed me with a grave look. Sui. How have you been all these years? Now that we're alone, I want to speak to you from the heart. I simply watched him in silence. Chen Sanjing wiped his face. You know me. If you go back 3 generations in my family, the Chens have all been rough, uneducated folks, and your Li family has been tilling the soil for as long as anyone can remember. Now, I've made some money and started a company, but when you get right down to it, I'm still just a roughneck at heart. You saw that young nurse today. She's well-read, plays the piano, paints, a real cultured person from a family of scholars. If I could marry a wife like that, then we. As he spoke, Chen Sanjing gave me a meaningful look. I let out a bitter laugh. So, Chen Sanjing, what exactly are you trying to say? It seems in my past life, I had the sense to stay away from the city, saving Chen Sanjing a lot of trouble. Now that I'm here, he's naturally trying every trick in the book to get rid of me. Chen Sanjing rubbed his hands together. I, Chen Sanjing, am no coward. You bore me 2 children. In the future, I'll talk it over with Shu Qin and arrange for you to live with us. As for the kids, I'll convince Shu Qin to love them as her own. So, you want to have both a wife and a concubine? Chen Sanjing waved his hand dismissively. No, Shu Qin is a modern, educated woman who studied abroad. How could she ever agree to share a husband with someone else? Then what are you smoking? Chen Sanjing said with shameless conviction. We never got a marriage certificate. When the time comes, you can move into our house and we'll say you're the live-in nanny. Shu Qin will remain my legitimate wife in name, and our 2 children can still receive the best education. Sometimes, when you're at a complete loss for words, you just have to laugh. I grabbed the plates and bowls from the table and hurled them out the door. Chen Sanjing, I'm done with you. I've slaved away at home raising your child, and now you want me to come to your house and be your maid, and you have the nerve to talk about some city woman becoming my child's stepmother. Do you think I'm dead? Let's go. I'll go with you to the police station right now and ask them, is there any justice in this world? The sound of plates and bowls shattering on the floor startled everyone in the entire residential compound. Chen Sanjing's face turned livid. What are you making a scene for? Aren't you ashamed? I'm just trying to discuss this with you. Do you even know what discussion means? I ran out crying and tugged at one of the older sisters gathered in the yard. Sister, please, you be the judge. Chen Sanjing says since we never got a marriage certificate, I should stay in his house as a live-in maid. The older sister spat in disgust. I can't stand hearing that nonsense from men. We met through a matchmaker. There's no real feeling. Well, I didn't hear you complaining about no feeling when you were hopping into bed together. Now you've got several kids, you see some young, pretty thing with better prospects, and suddenly it's no feeling. If you ask me, men like that belong in jail. A few other women also pointed at Chen Sanjing and said, we may not have had much schooling or know any grand philosophies, but we know this much, a person's got to have a conscience. How dare you say you have no feelings for her right in front of your own children, and then expect the mother of your kids to work as a nanny? There's no justice in the world for that. Soon after, these outraged women were pulled back by their families. I quietly memorized their faces, making a mental note to befriend them properly in the future. As the crowd dispersed, Chen Sanjing's face turned ashen. Li Sui, he spat out. Do you think this is still the countryside? That you can just make a scene whenever you please, have you no shame, what's the point of pride? I was so obsessed with saving face in my last life, and all it got me was misery. This time around, I just want a good life. What's the use of all that talk? Hand over all the money you earn. I'm raising 2 kids, we need food, clothes, and an education. Chen Sanjing's expression was a mix of disbelief and exasperation. You can't even read, and you still want money. I made as if to run into the courtyard and make a scene. Chen Sanjing's brows furrowed deeply. Fine, here you go. With the money in hand, my first stop was to buy some meat. I cooked a hearty meal of braised pork for my 2 children. Watching them finish eating and lounge lazily in the courtyard sun, I couldn't hold back my tears. Given this second chance at life, my children and I are determined to live well. But our good days didn't last long before Shuqin showed up at our house. Her eyes red, pleading for help. Brother Sanjing, father found out about us. He's ashamed of me and wants to marry me off to some backwater village in the south. Brother Sanjing, everyone's just settling down now, and they all want to move to the city. Why does my father have to send me to the countryside? Chen Sanjing grew anxious at once. Shuqin, don't panic. Once I've settled things with the family, we'll get married. I refuse to believe your father would still send you off to the countryside, not with a man of my standing right here. Tears welled up in Huang Shuqin's eyes. Hearing this, she threw herself into Chen Sanjing's arms. Brother Sanjing, I knew it. I knew you wouldn't let me be married off to the countryside. Chen Sanjing carefully wiped the tears from the corners of Huang Shuqin's eyes. Don't cry anymore, or your eyes will swell up. Be good. Wash your face with some warm water first. Sway. Could you wring out a warm towel for Shuqin? Oh, so you finally remembered me, huh? I clapped my hands. I'm almost moved to tears by your love story. Huang Shuqin shyly turned her back to wipe her tears with a handkerchief, while Chen Sanjing pointed a finger at me. You, how can you be so sarcastic at a time like this? Do you have any idea how much hardship Shuqin would have to endure if she married into the countryside? Meeting the accusatory gazes of Chen Sanjing and Huang Shuqin, I spoke coldly. I know, she'd have to go work in the fields before dawn, and still not get breakfast until the sun is high in the sky. After a whole day's toil, she wouldn't even have time for the children. They'd be crawling around, covered in filth, and at midnight, she'd still be hunched over a kerosene lamp, sewing shoe soles for them, going a whole year without a single bite of meat, eating nothing but cabbage and pickles for every meal. Never tasting a proper bowl of white rice or a steamed bun, just dried sweet potato until you're sick of it. And that wasn't even the hardest part. The hardest part was when your child fell ill with a fever, out in the countryside. Getting to a doctor meant a long walk, under a cold, starry sky. You'd have to cut through the chestnut grove dotted with graves, walking that path with your child burning up in your arms. Your heart would be gripped with pure terror. As I spoke, I clumsily wiped away tears that had started falling without me noticing. Chen Sanjing looked flustered. Look at you, he said. I didn't say anything. Why are you crying? Huang Shuqin sat to the side, her face in her hands. Sister-in-law, we're both women. All these years I've been out at sea on the boats, but thanks to Brother Sanjing looking out for me, I haven't known much hardship. How could I possibly bear being sent off to the countryside to marry now? I stared coldly at the pity in Chen Sanjing's eyes. I suppose I'm just not as blessed as you. Even when you're out at sea, my husband still pines for you. As for me, I'm stuck in the countryside all alone, tending the fields, feeding the chickens and pigs, raising 2 children, and serving my mother-in-law, born to a life of toil. That's my lot. And now, after all this time, my man finally comes back to me in one piece, and some little vixen tries to steal him away. You're the educated one. So tell me, what do they call it in the books when someone tries to snatch another woman's husband? And what do they call it when a man throws aside his faithful wife after he's made good? I've heard the operas sing about Chin Shimmy. Shuqin, you tell me, doesn't that make him a modern-day Chin Shimmy? Huang Shuqin's sobbing hitched. A deep blush instantly spread across her face. No wonder Chen Sanjing was smitten. City girls from the big metropolis really are something else. Delicate skin, tender flesh, even flushed with shame. She was 100 times prettier than a coarse-skinned country woman like me. I've made up my mind. Tomorrow, I'm going to the supply and marketing cooperative to buy some vanishing cream, pick up 2 jeans of dried red dates, and get the candy the kids have been dreaming about. Huang Shuqin's leather shoes are really something. Just the other day, Xiaoman was going on about how a classmate got a pair of red ones. I couldn't bring myself to spend the money back then, but now it's time to get her a pair. Chen Sanjing was over there frowning and saying who knows what again. I didn't catch a single word. My mind was already miles away, thinking about my shopping trip to the cooperative tomorrow. I wonder if the cashier at the cooperative will look down on me. A country woman, and Shuqing's outfit really is lovely. Maybe I should ask around in town tomorrow about getting a new dress made for myself. Well, that would just about clean us out. Who knows if that good-for-nothing Chen Sanjing has any secret stash of cash on him. It wasn't until Chen Sanjing barked at me, "Li Sui, I'm talking to you. Where are your manners? Shuqing is right here. I told you to go make lunch. Are you pretending not to hear me?" I shrugged. "Look, I'm right here. And you're already planning to abandon me and the child. She's getting married, and I haven't even accused you two of being rude." Chen Sanjing, I see it now. Now that you've made something of yourself, you've become a lot more unreasonable. At the mention of marriage, Huang Shuqing fixed her intense gaze on Chen Sanjing. Chen Sanjing wiped his face and said, "Well, since we've come this far in the conversation, Sui, you can't just stand by and watch Shuqing be sent back to the countryside. Can you? Let's stick to what we discussed the other day. I'll register the marriage with Shuqing, but I promise you, we'll always keep a place for you. Shuqing will treat your two children as her own. Isn't that right, Shuqing?" Huang Shuqing looked both bashful and smug as she said, "Sister Sui, I promise I will treat you and the children well. I didn't care. I don't care if you get a marriage certificate or not. I don't care if you'll treat my children well or not. There's just one thing. Every penny my man earns comes to me, and I'm the one who runs the household. Otherwise, I'm going straight to the police station. I never went to school. I don't understand fancy talk. I only know what's right in front of me." Chen Sanjing slammed the table. "What kind of nonsense is this? Whoever he gets the marriage certificate with is the lady of the house. You get the salary, you call the shots. What's supposed to happen to Shuqing?" I flung the door open, grabbed Chen Sanjing, and dragged him into the courtyard. "Everyone, be the judge of this. My husband says he's going to get a marriage certificate with someone else, says he won't give me his salary anymore, and that I won't be the one running this household. Is there any justice in this world? My child and I are standing right here, alive and well, and they're acting like we're dead. They even want to trick me into staying home to be their maid. Tell me, what decent girl has the nerve to come running to another woman's door to snatch her man? All this talk of being cultured, is that what cultured people do? Specialize in stealing husbands? I'm putting my foot down right here and now. If I don't get my wages and a say in how things are run, I'll hang myself and my two children right on Chen Sanjing's doorstep." Huang Shuqing slunk away, crying her eyes out, fuming. Chen Sanjing sat there and drank himself into a stupor all night. I paid it no mind. I found a piece of paper and sketched out the things I planned to buy tomorrow, thinking of how happy Xiao Man would be to see the red leather shoes. I fell asleep with a smile on my lips. The next day, at the supply and marketing cooperative, I learned a thing or two. They couldn't care less if you're a country woman, as long as you've got money in your pocket and don't dawdle over your purchases. They'll just politely call you Big Sister. Being called Big Sister over and over went straight to my head. I ended up buying an extra pack of walnut cookies and even got a toy for each of my two kids. The cashier said all the city kids have toys to play with, so my Zhuang and Xiaoman should have them too. When I went to the tailor's shop, I realized how particular city folk are about making clothes. The tailor discussed every detail with me, from the height of the collar to the color coordination. Only after confirming the pickup time did I head home, laden with bags, just as Chen Sanjing, who had been sulking all morning and skipped breakfast, got off work. He ran into me. His face was dark with resentment, and when he saw the numerous shopping bags in my hands, he turned purple with rage. "Li Sui," he fumed, "I actually believed you were as pitiful as you claimed, and what do I find? You've been out shopping non-stop." I ignored his nonsense, refusing to even acknowledge him. My kids would be home from school soon. Before they left in the morning, they'd asked for steamed egg custard and boiled chicken legs. I needed to start cooking for them right away. Chen Sanjing followed me into the kitchen. I swiftly chopped the scallions, beat the eggs, and set the steamer going for the custard. Then, I moved on to scoring the chicken legs and soaking them in a salt brine. After following me around for 2 circles, Chen Sanjing's bluster faded. Sui, he said. "I'm not your enemy. I didn't even look up. You're planning to have another woman take my place and live the good life. You're planning to give the money you earn to another woman. You're planning to have my children call another woman mother. And worst of all, you're planning to throw the 3 of us, me and the kids, out on the street. You're abandoning your wife and children, showing no gratitude for past kindness. you're a modern-day Chen Shimi. How can you say you're not my enemy? Chen Sanjing was exasperated. I haven't laid a hand on you, and I haven't cursed you. Why are you being so unreasonable? The steamed eggs were ready. I carefully took them out and set them aside, then put the chicken legs in the pot to boil, all while continuing to chop vegetables. But I could be thrown out on the street by you at any moment. My position here is illegitimate. The day you take a fancy to some other woman, I'll just be that loveless blind date you had. Oh, right. The blind date who bore you 2 children. Chen Sanjing trudged back to his room in dejection. I couldn't be bothered with him. These days, the children and I just want to live a good life. If he dares to withhold money from us, I'll take both kids and make a scene at the police station. At worst, it'll be mutual destruction. None of us will get to live in peace. Chen Sanjing was at his wit's end with me, with Huang Shuqin's family breathing down his neck. He was so frantic and stressed that he went and fetched his old mother from the countryside. This time, he didn't just send someone back, he took the train himself to fetch his mother, along with his eldest and second brother's families. My sisters-in-law came too. I didn't even bat an eye. Back when he was gone for 8 years, I raised our 2 kids in the countryside and never let his mother or my sisters-in-law get the better of me, and now he's brought them here to gang up on me. How ridiculous. The house Chen Sanjing bought only has 3 rooms. Originally, Xiao Man and I shared one, Zhuang had his own, and Chen Sanjing had the third. Now, with so many more people arriving, Chen Sanjing had to move in with Zhuang into our room. The eldest brother's family took one room, the second brother's family took another, and my mother-in-law was forced to sleep on a makeshift bed in the living room, although Chen Sanjing, just like in the previous life, arranged jobs at the company for both brothers. The apartments for their families won't be ready to move into for another half a month or so. Of course, I suspect this is all part of Chen Sanjing's scheme, deliberately bringing in all these people to get under my skin. To pressure me, hoping I'll just give up and back down, but he had been away from home for too long, and didn't understand how hardship changes a person. During those days when we shared dried sweet potatoes and struggled together to raise our children, my elder and second sisters-in-law and I had our share of friction, but they also felt great sympathy for my current situation, seizing the moment while Chen Sanjing took dying and urging to report at the company. I carried a bowl of peanuts and sat down between my 2 sisters-in-law. You know what? It wasn't until I came here that I learned women could also go to work in an office. The eldest and second sister-in-law kept their hands busy, but their faces showed a hint of regret. But we can't read a single character. We're not like those educated city folks who've been to school. What does it matter if you can't read? Some jobs don't require it. As long as you're hardworking and responsible, you can do them. There are 2 sisters-in-law in our courtyard, both from the countryside. They cut fabric at a garment factory. They earn a decent amount every month. If we could earn our own money, we could buy whatever we want for our children. Even if our own families needed our help, we wouldn't have to go begging to our husbands. The eldest sister-in-law perked up immediately, even stopping her peanut shelling. Sway. Go ask those 2 sisters-in-law how to get a job at the garment factory. If we could find work in the city, just see if that Chen Dying would still dare put on airs in front of me. Second sister-in-law was the woman of action. When do those 2 sisters-in-law get off work? Let's take some gifts and pay them a visit at home. See if they can help us brainstorm some ideas. Facing the expectant looks from my eldest and second sisters-in-law, I pointed to my mother-in-law, who was catching up on sleep in the living room. Eldest sister, second sister, we've been together for so many years, we know each other's temperaments inside out. Chen Sanjing, mother-in-law, eldest brother, and second brother, they're flesh and blood, they're bound to take Chen Sanjing's side. But think about it, eldest sister, second sister, if that new bride comes through the door, is she really going to want to give a helping hand to you country relatives? As for the job, it's just a word from Chen Sanjing. Of course, you might also think, since Chen Sanjing calls the shots, then whether his wife is me or Huang Shuqin has nothing to do with you. By helping Chen Sanjing marry this new bride, you'll also earn his favor. Let me be perfectly clear with you. I, Li Sui, am not one to be taken advantage of. If I can't get a piece of Chen Sanjing's fortune, I'll take the children and throw myself in front of his company. I swear I'll make his life a living hell. The elder and second sisters-in-law grew serious. Don't talk like that. Good days are right around the corner, and here you are talking about death. It's bad luck. Don't worry, even if we set aside how you could help us as the lady of the house, just remembering how you risked your life running into that burning kitchen in the countryside to save our children. We could never stab you in the back." Hearing this, I immediately dabbed my eyes with a handkerchief. "Elder sister-in-law. Second sister-in-law, you're the only ones who truly care for me. Just think, I've waited all these years, raised 2 children alone, and the moment he comes back, he's going to marry someone else. If it weren't for the children, I couldn't bear another day of this." After I had successfully milked their sympathy for all it was worth, the moment I stepped out to pick up my child, I immediately dropped the pitiful, vulnerable act. People are emotional creatures. They fear your poverty and resent your prosperity. If my 2 sisters-in-law thought I was living too well, jealousy would get the better of them, and they wouldn't be able to resist making things difficult for me. But if I appeared down on my luck and miserable on the inside, they would go out of their way to pity me. Sure enough, that very evening, when Chen Sanjing haltingly brought up Huang Shuqin again, my 2 sisters-in-law, without any prompting from me, launched into a tearful, highly embellished account of all the hardships and suffering I had endured over those 8 years. The 2 sisters-in-law wouldn't let it go and dragged their mother-in-law into it. "Mother, you be the judge. Is there any justice in this? No feelings from an arranged marriage. What nonsense." We all remember how Sanjing took one look at Sui Sui and was smitten. He begged and pleaded to marry her. How can he have the nerve to say there were no feelings now, if there were truly no feelings? Where did the 2 children come from? The mother-in-law was put on the spot, caught in the middle. Chen Sanjing looked cornered. What choice do I have? Everyone knows about me and Shu Qin. If I suddenly call off the wedding now, how is that poor, innocent girl supposed to face the world? I immediately burst into tears. "Mother, don't you see, your precious 3rd son is all about honor and loyalty, isn't he? He abandons his own wife and children to do right by some other girl. Has it even crossed his mind how a woman with 2 children is supposed to survive when her husband throws her away? That girl still has a future, but me, with 2 children in tow, if I die, I'll have to drag my babies down with me." With that, I dragged the 2 children toward the door. "Come on," I said, "we've got nothing left to live for anyway, let's just go and dash our heads against your father's doorstep right now. Better that than suffer through the hard days to come." Before coming to seek out Chen Sanjing, I had privately coached Shuang and Xiaoman. Seeing my act, they immediately opened their mouths and wailed, "Father, please don't take a stepmother. A stepmother means a stepfather. You drove our mother to her death, and we won't go on living either." Oh, little cabbage, yellowing in the field, at 8 or 9 years old, I've lost my mother. Oh, mother, take me and my little sister with you. We won't stay alive to be a burden on father's new marriage. The families eating in the courtyard compound heard the commotion and came running out. The mother-in-law pursed her lips in disdain. "What's all this racket? Aren't you ashamed enough already?" The onlookers pointed and whispered, "No offense, but Boss Chen is so indecisive. If you want to marry that nurse, you should at least have your affairs in order back home, your wife and kids, bringing them all to the city like this. What a mess. Hearing you men talk like that makes my blood boil. Have your affairs in order. What does that even mean? Get rich and the wife conveniently dies. Is that it? You men are all the same, no good, the lot of you. What's it got to do with me? You're just looking for trouble, aren't you? Let's go home, just go home, poor kids." When they first got here, their little faces were all sallow and pale. They'd just started to fill out a bit, and now their father's about to bring a stepmother into the picture. Honestly, we might as well skip the theater. We get a free show from the Chen family every single day. Don't they ever sleep? Some of us have to rest at night, you know. Chen Sanjing, his face pale with rage, clasped his hands in a pleading gesture and shoved me and the children back into the room. "Li Sui Sui, how many times do I have to tell you? We're not the only ones living in this courtyard. Your constant shouting disturbs everyone. What on earth are you trying to achieve?" I looked straight at the furious Chen Sanjing and my disapproving mother-in-law, speaking each word deliberately. "My goal is simple. I just want a good life for my 2 children. The money you earn, Chen Sanjing, should be spent on buying them meat, toys, clothes, and sending them to school. That's what a father is supposed to do." My mother-in-law's eyes darted back and forth. "Sanjing, Shuang and Xiaoman are good kids. Now that you're doing better for yourself, of course you should make sure they have a good life." Chen Sanjing slumped to the ground, burying his head in his hands. "What about Shu Qin? Am I just supposed to stand by and watch her marry into the countryside?" For a moment, the pride deep in my bones nearly made me blurt out, "If you're so hung up on her, then find me a job in the city. I can support the 2 children myself, and I won't stand in the way of you and Huang Shuqin being together. But the words died on my lips as I suddenly remembered my past life, how Chen Sanjing grew more and more successful later on. His son leveraged his connections to build such a vast business, and his daughter was doted on and raised in such luxury. He was a living, breathing cash cow. A little discomfort in my heart was a small price to pay. The tangible benefits for me and the children in the days to come were all too real. The real problem is, the money Chen Sanjing gave me is almost all spent, and I still have to cook for so many people every day. The daily grind of shopping and preparing meals is really getting to me. But that frustration completely vanished the moment Huang Shuqin came running to our door in tears yet again. The girl, her eyes red from crying, tugged at Chen Sanjing's sleeve just like last time. Her gaze pleading, "Sanjing Ji, have you figured out a plan yet? My father only gave me a month, if you..." Before she could finish, a voice cut in, "Still crying at your age? Have you no shame, uncle? Who's this? She's really pretty, I know. Isn't this the woman Xiaoman mentioned, the one who wants to be uncle's new wife? My mom says any woman who sets her sights on another woman's man is a shameless hussy." "Yeah, my mom says the same, only a brazen, low-class woman would covet another's husband and scheme to become a stepmother." The children of the eldest and second brothers, having grown up wild in the countryside, had no filter when they spoke. Huang Shuqin's expression, which had been on the verge of tears, instantly gave way to genuine sobbing under the assault of their words. "Brother Sanjing, I've never been cursed at in all my life. To be insulted like this by a bunch of kids today, I can't go on living." The eldest brother's children wouldn't let up, so eager to become a stepmother. "Back in our village, someone like you would be cursed at by everyone. I guess you big city folks don't have any standards." Huang Shuqin bolted out the door in a flash. Chen Sanjing stamped his foot, shot the children a glare, sighed, and ran after her. I took out the candy I'd bought for Xiaoman a few days earlier and gave each of the children 2 pieces as a reward. That clever little kid, wise beyond his years, said, "Don't worry, Auntie, if she shows up again, we'll give her another piece of our mind." I didn't mind cooking for a few extra mouths one bit, especially since Chen Sanjing's payday was just around the corner. The sheer satisfaction of giving Huang Shuqin and Chen Sanjing a good tongue lashing made it all worthwhile. Chen Sanjing came home every day with a face like thunder, but aside from his mother, nobody paid him any mind. Following my lead, my sisters-in-law repeatedly brought up the benefits of getting a job and earning money to their husbands. An extra source of income makes a world of difference for a family, so, naturally, my eldest and second brothers brought up the idea of finding work for the 3 of us. Chen Sanjing lowered his gaze, lost in thought, and remained silent for a long time. I held out my hand directly. "We're almost out of money for rice at home. Do you have any left?" Chen Sanjing shot to his feet in anger. "I just gave you money last month. How could it be gone already?" "Well, it's not like I was buying peach shortbread for some young man. I have no idea where the money went." Zhuang immediately scurried over to Chen Sanjing. "Dad, did you buy peach shortbread again? Next time you buy some for that pretty lady, could you get some for me and my sister too? I've never tasted anything so delicious." All eyes turned to Chen Sanjing's face. He closed his eyes briefly. All right. It's just about arranging a job, right? I'll take care of it tomorrow. Honestly, Li Sui, could you give me a moment to breathe? Ever since you got here, my days have been more exhausting than fighting a war." I deftly divided the steamed egg custard equally into the children's bowls. "Of course," I said, "out at sea, you had that sweet young nurse who was so taken with you. Now you're stuck looking at this old hag every day. Must be exhausting, isn't it?" Chen Sanjing was so angry he pushed his bowl away and stormed out. I didn't even look up, just urged everyone to keep eating and drinking. "Eat up, sister-in-law, second sister-in-law. Get some rest early. When you go to the factory tomorrow, make sure you put your best face forward and make a good impression on your new colleagues." The thought of going to work filled both eldest brothers and second brothers' families with joy, and even mother-in-law was caught up in the laughter. The next day, Chen Sanjing, who had been gone all night, did indeed take us to the garment factory. Eldest sister-in-law and second sister-in-law were in charge of cutting the fabric, while I was responsible for folding clothes and quilts, having been used to farm work in the countryside. We quickly got the hang of these much lighter tasks. Every day, I would get up early to cook for the children, head to the factory after breakfast, pick them up after my shift, and then we'd go grocery shopping and cook together. Both my children and I started looking much healthier. with a rosy glow on our cheeks. Once eldest brother and second brother had settled on their own places, they moved out as well. Before she left, second sister-in-law quietly pulled me aside. There's something I've been wanting to say for a long time. Don't think I'm being crude, sister-in-law, men, they're all the same. I know he gets on your nerves, but if you really want to use third brother's influence to pave the way for your two children, you can't keep this stalemate going. Men need to be handled, your husband and wife. After all, if you keep him occupied at home, what's he got left to go chasing after some little vixen with? Besides, as long as that marriage certificate isn't finalized, he wouldn't dare get serious with anyone on the outside. Think about it, silly, he's been at sea for 8 or 9 years. At this point, even Pig from the Journey to the West would start looking like a beauty to him. Her point may have been valid, but second sister-in-law's words were just too crass. My mother-in-law couldn't settle into the staff compound. She said there were too many educated people here and was afraid she, a country woman, would make a fool of herself and embarrass Chin Sanjing, so she moved out with my eldest brother. Every day, while cooking, looking after the children, studying alongside them, or working, the words second sister-in-law said before she left would echo in my ears. What is it that I truly want? Chin Sanjing is a man of hot blood and strong passions. Even if there were no Huang Shuqin, there would be a green Shuqin or a red Shuqin. If I can't win his heart, sooner or later, my two children and I will end up reliving the nightmare of my past life. But the thought of trying to seduce a man whose heart has already strayed, I just can't bring myself to cross that line. Ever since the kids gave her a hard time, Huang Shuqin has stopped coming around. But I heard from the aunties in the courtyard that her father never actually arranged any match for her with a country fellow. Instead, a wealthy businessman has taken a fancy to her. The eldest sister cracked a sunflower seed. Sway sway, you really are lucky. If you hadn't come along, Huang Shuqin might already be married into this family. But now, with a tycoon in the picture, as long as she's got a brain in her head, she won't be fighting you for your man anymore. The problem was, Huang Shuqin just wasn't right in the head. She had the nerve to go straight to the big boss and declare that she was already Chin Sanjing's woman, and if the boss didn't mind, then they could still get married. The boss, who had a notoriously short fuse, exploded on the spot. Damn it all, I'm no cuckold. It was her father who begged me to look after her. I only agreed to marry her out of respect for the man who saved my life at sea. And now look at this, I'm the one left wearing the horns. In his fury, the boss cancelled all the orders he had previously placed with Chin Sanjing. After a long moment of contemplation, I packed 2 jars of my homemade pickled chili sauce and headed to Huang Shuqin's house. The moment they saw me, Huang Shuqin's parents' expressions darkened. What are you doing here? I offered the chili sauce. Uncle, auntie, I mean no harm. I came today because I'm worried about Sanjing. Think about it, he finally made some money at sea, and by the grace of heaven, he came back in one piece. How can he let these trivial romantic matters affect his business? I can't speak for other things. But as for Shuqin's character, I'm certain of this. Without a marriage certificate or a wedding banquet, she would never get involved with Chin Sanjing. I'm not here to point fingers or lay blame. I just want to be completely honest with you both. I'm a country woman with a son and a daughter. My greatest hope in this life is Chin Sanjing. Call me unambitious, call me spineless. As a mother, my children's well-being has to come first. Huang Shuqin's mother sighed, took my hand, and led me to sit on a chair. Zhuang's mom, we're both mothers. I understand where you're coming from, but our daughter's heart is completely set on Chin Sanjing. It worries us sick, too. Huang Shuqin's eyes were puffy. You came to gloat, didn't you? To rub it in my face. If you hadn't been clinging to brother Sanjing, he and I would have been married long ago. You're uneducated and useless, completely incapable of helping Sanjing, yet you insist on holding him back. Huang Shuqin's mother slapped her across the face. Shut your mouth. Have you no shame? If Chin Sanjing abandons his wife and children today, he'll treat you poorly tomorrow. Didn't you say Chin Sanjing wasn't married? If he's not married, where did this wife and child come from? Did all that education you received go to the dogs? Huang Shuqin covered her face and sobbed onto the table. I, supporting my lower back, said, Auntie, I had no choice but to come to you today. I'm pregnant, caring for 2 children, and completely lost in the city. My husband has been wrongfully accused, and his company's orders have dried up. I'm truly at my wit's end. Huang Shuqin's sobbing stopped. She stared at me in disbelief. You're pregnant? I pretended to be startled, carefully shielding my stomach as I stepped back. My husband and I have been apart for so long, isn't it perfectly normal that I'm with child? Huang Shuqing's mother sighed, wrapped up 2 packets of brown sugar for me, and fetched some dates and pastries. Zhuang's mother, don't you worry, I'll take this disgraceful child to see the boss later and explain everything. You're in a delicate condition, so don't fret over this. I promise it won't affect Mitsui's company. You have my word. I pressed the handkerchief, soaked in ginger juice overnight, against my eyes. The sting made tears stream down. Auntie, hearing you say that, a weight has been lifted from my heart. Shuqing, we're both women. I'm begging you, for the sake of the child in my womb, please give me and my 3 children a way out. You're beautiful, educated, and cherished by your family. You have so many options, but I'm different. I have little education, no skills, and all these children depend on Chen Sanjing to provide for them. Huang Shuqing's face paled, biting her lip. She asked, "You're really pregnant with Chen Sanjing's child?" I covered my face and burst into tears. Chen Sanjing has been gone for 8 years, and I've waited at home for 8 years. What are you implying, sister? Do you doubt my character? Do you think I've been unfaithful to him? I can't go on living. What's the point of my life anymore? How can there be such wicked people in this world? She stole my man, ruined his business. And now in broad daylight she has the nerve to accuse me of adultery. I just can't go on. Huang Shuqing's mother slapped her again. Zhuang's mother, please forgive her. She's heartbroken and not thinking straight. Huang Shuqing wiped her face. Fine, just fine. Chen Sanjing is a real piece of work. With that, she turned and bolted out the door. Huang Shuqing's mother hurried out after her. I gave Huang Shuqing's father a timid, pitiful look before turning and walking out of their house. That evening, Chen Sanjing returned home. He sat at the table, downing several drinks by himself before asking, "Are you pregnant?" "No." "So you told Shuqing you're pregnant?" "I'm not pregnant now, but I already have 2 kids." "What? The children I had before don't count as children, only a current pregnancy matters." Chen Sanjing slammed his glass on the floor. "Is that the same thing? Zhuang and Xiaoman were born before I even knew her. Now she's waiting for me. She even turned down a big shot for my sake, and you go and tell her you're pregnant. You're making me look like a complete scoundrel." I wasn't about to back down. "So what? When you abandoned me and the children, you didn't show us an ounce of decency either. And Chen Sanjing, when you have a moment, try to really put yourself in my shoes. I waited for you for 8 years, you're a man of the world. I don't believe for a second you don't know how many women couldn't endure it. Some even abandoning their own children. I raised our 2 children alone, with no word from you, not knowing if you were dead or alive, and I waited for you for 8 hopeless years. Now you're back, and your heart belongs entirely to another woman. Have you ever spared a single thought for me?" Chen Sanjing's heart was broken. He began pouring all his energy into his 2 children. "I drop off and pick up the kids every day, read and teach them their letters, and when we have free time, I take them out fishing." The subject of Huang Shuqing, and the matter of marriage, was never brought up again. Sister Zhao from the residential compound, who's always in the know, sidled up to me and said, "You're the lucky one. That little nurse hasn't been pestering your Mr. Chen lately, has she?" "She went off to the big city with that tycoon." I could hardly believe it, but I thought she looked down on that tycoon before. Sister Zhao leaned in and whispered in my ear, "The other day, did your Mr. Chen upset that young nurse? That big boss is loaded and influential, and with his family backing him up. I even saw them off when they left for the city together a couple days ago. You should have seen how cozy they were, right in front of us. The big boss wouldn't let go of the nurse's hand." Finally, Sister Zhao leaned close again and said, Sway, we're both from the countryside. I get it. When my man first came back from the sea, he even sent word home that he'd drowned, all so he could marry some city girl. My whole world fell apart. I was stubborn, dead set on coming to the shipping company to ask if he'd left anything behind. And what do you know? I showed up and caught him giving that girl a ride on his bicycle. I marched right over and kicked the bike over. I made such a fuss back then that the girl ended up marrying someone else. But look at me and my husband now. Our life is quite harmonious, isn't it? And now I've got another little one on the way. I finally couldn't hold back and asked the question that had been weighing on my heart for so long. "Sis, doesn't it bother you? Back then, your husband was ready to abandon you and the child. How did you manage to get over that hurdle in your heart?" Sister Zhao looked up at the sky. "Little sister, I had no one to rely on. My parents favored my brother. My mother-in-law was harsh, and they wanted me to take the child back to the countryside to scrape a living from the dirt. I certainly wasn't willing to do that. and I couldn't support 2 children on my own. I could have tried to find someone else, but with my circumstances, what kind of man could I really hope to find while dragging 2 children along? After weighing all the options, staying with my husband seemed the better choice. The smile on Sister Zhao's face was genuine. These past few days, whenever I've run into her and Boss Lee, they've been discussing everything so amicably. If Sister Zhao hadn't told me herself, I'd never have believed they'd ever gone through such a rough patch. Sister Zhao took my hand and said, "Little sister, think about it. What was the whole point of you coming to the city?" Throwing caution to the wind, now that Boss Chen is nursing a broken heart, if you show him a little tenderness and comfort, wouldn't it be good for the children to have both a father and a mother every day? After I got home that day, I went to the market and bought a lot of groceries. I also put on the new dress I'd had made at the tailor's shop a couple of days earlier. Zhuang and Xiaoman both clung to my side, telling me how pretty I looked. I asked Chen Sanjing with a smile, "What do you think, Boss Chen?" That night, Chen Sanjing and I talked for a long time, reminiscing about some amusing stories from before we set out to sea. Chen Sanjing pressed his lips together tightly. "The day I married you and brought you home, I swore I'd give you a good life. Sui, can you give me another chance to make good on that promise? When you're in a good mood one day, let's go get our marriage certificate." "Alright." In the flickering light, I looked at the children's school bags hanging by the door and gave in. "We'll see how you behave from now on." Epilogue. After Xiaoman got married, Zhuang and his wife moved out as well. In the vast villa, it was just Chen Sanjing and me. All these years, we've lived in great comfort. To make up for things, Chen Sanjing has indeed treated me and the children well, just as he once promised. Nearing 50, my hands are no longer rough and chapped like they were in my past life, and my 2 children are truly living a carefree and unrestrained life in this lifetime, just as I had envisioned, back in my hometown. I was caring for my in-laws and toiling in the fields to raise our 2 children, while Chen Sanjing, in the big city, married a young and pretty nurse and even had a lovely pair of twins. Seeing me just knitting away, Chen Sanjing sighed. Sui, you know how I've been to you all these years." She left without a word back then, following the big boss. I let go of that notion long ago, but the big boss saved my life at sea. He died young, and this is his only son. A doting mother spoils the child, they say, but if the boy's in trouble now, shouldn't we lend a hand? As for whether that old resentment in my heart ever truly settled, looking back after all these years, I realize clinging to it is pointless. When I first came from the village to seek out Chen Sanjing, it wasn't for grand vows of love. All I wanted was a good life. And all these years, I've truly had one. Finding out my old romantic rival is having a rough time really does wonders for my appetite. A life for a life, a debt repaid. He's done so much evil. What good is begging now? Why didn't you raise him right in the first place? Chen Sanjing pursed his lips, but in the end, he didn't dare talk back. After all, in recent years, his leg injury had flared up again, confining him to a wheelchair most of the time. When I'm in a bad mood, my memory gets worse too. Last time, because he answered Huang Shuqin's call, I took him downstairs to get some sun and then promptly forgot all about him. In the 30-degree heat, he was left out in the sun for over 2 hours before he could find someone to call me. When he came back, his lips were sunburned and peeling. Nowadays, he's careful to watch my mood in everything he says and does, terrified that if I get upset again, I might forget him once more.